Okay, in this tutorial, what I want to do is I want to install the Nessus server and client on my Ubuntu machine. So I booted up Ubuntu, and what I want to do is I want to get to a terminal. So I'm going to go to my Applications, Accessories, and then the terminal. Now, the commercial version of Nessus is available for Linux. And also I do believe they have a community edition as well. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to install openvas. So openvas is a tool that was taken from Nessus. Now, originally Nessus was an open source project. When they hit about version 3 or 4, they went closed source and they started selling the Nessus scanning server and client as a commercial product. And a group of people branched away from Nessus and started the openvas server. So I'm gonna be using openvas, but you're gonna notice it's gonna look and feel a lot like the Windows version of Nessus. So I need to install the server. So I'm gonna do the sudo, and then what I want to do is I want to do the apt-get. Oops, I am gonna just close this down. I don't want to update right now. Apt-get, and I want to do an install. And what I want is openvas, vas dash server. And I'm going to hit enter. So it's going to download all of the requirements for the openvas. And now, in order to connect to the openvas server, we're going to need a certificate. So I'm going to make a brand new certificate. So I'm going to use an sudo, and then openvas make mk, not make, it says mk cert. So the openvas toolkit has a program to make a certificate, and I am going to let it be for 1,460 days. 365. Okay, so what I want to do is I just want to change some of the country code to match ours. So I'm just going to kind of go through and change some of this. So I'm going to say US, and I'm going to say WI for Wisconsin, and I'm going to say Appleton. And that's fine. Okay, so at this point in time, it was successfully created. Press enter to exit. So now what we need to do is we need to add a user. So in the Windows version, you click the button that we created the user. So we're going to do the same thing, except for instead of clicking a button, we're going to do the sudo and openvas dash, and then it's add user. Alright, so we need a login name, and I'm just going to call it student. I'm going to need to remember the login name. Okay, the cert, I'm just going to hit enter to accept the pass. The login password, I'm just going to make it password. Hit enter. Okay, so now we have rules. we're not going to make any specific rules for this, so I'm just going to do Control D to break out of that. And the student password's password. Am I okay with that? I'm going to hit yes. Okay, so we added a brand new user. So now what we need to do is we need to check for updates and any type of plugins. So I'm going to need to do the openvas, and it's called the NVT sync. So I'm going to do sudo space open vas nvt dash sync sync. So it's just syncing everything up with the openvas repository, getting everything up to date. So now that we're all synchronized, I want to start up the daemon. So I'm just going to do the sudo space, and then it's open vas d, and then I'm going to do a space dash d to set it as a daemon. So it's open vas d, and then it's a space dash capital D. I'm going to press enter. Now it's going to load all the plugins as it starts the daemon up. So some plugins will fail to load, and I wouldn't worry about that. We're going to get at a 23,320. We're probably going to get a couple of them that just won't load correctly. Okay, so now that all the plugins have finally loaded, what I want to do is I want to install the client. So our server just got updated, it's synchronized, it's got all the plugins loaded. The service is now running on our server. Now what I want to do is I just want to get the client by doing the sudo apt-get install, and then it's openvas-client. Okay, so now that it's installed, I actually want to start up the client. So I'm going to do the sudo, and then it's open vas dash client. Enter. Okay, so that'll open up my client. Okay, I guess having a hard time going full screen here. I'm actually going to make my resolution a little bit bigger. It looks like things are hanging off the side of the screen. So to get to my resolution, I'm going to go to my System Preferences, and then Monitors, and I'm probably just going to bump that up to 1024 by 768 and see how that works. Okay, that looks better. Okay, so I've got global options here. So if there were specific settings that I wanted every single connection to use, I could put that in my global options. But for right now, I'm just going to go with the default global options. So I'm going to start by click on, first I'm going to select the global options, and then I want to make a connect. So I'm going to make a file connect. So I'm going to connect to our local server. So this is my client. This is the front end. I want to connect to the back end. Now, if we had multiple layers, I could have it connected to a different server, but it is currently on the current one. So the login name, I actually called it student, and the password I used was password. And I'm just going to click OK. And I'm going to just display and remember the certificate from the server. And I'm going to accept it because it's my server. I know who it is, and I'm connecting to it as the local host. So I'm going to accept the certificate. And that was a certificate that we made when we first started the installation and configuration of the server. Okay, so now after receiving all of the plugins, now we actually want to set up a scan. So I'm just going to say OK. And we have all of our plugins loaded. So I want to click on File, and what I want to do is I want to use the Scan Assistant. Alright, so I'm just going to do Scan Assist. And the first thing I want to do is I want to just give this scan a name. So I'm just going to call it Server 1. And then I'm going to go forward. Now step 2 is going to be the scope. This is going to be like in the last one we had our profiles. I'm just going to call this internal network. Then I'm just going to go forward. And then step 3, we're going to want to use our target. This is going to be the server that's listed in Blackboard. Currently this semester it's 10.7.66.44, but that will change from semester to semester. So you're going to want to make sure that you log into Blackboard underneath the course information and find the specific server that we want to scan. So I'm just going to go forward, and now finally I can execute. I've got everything set up correctly, so I can just click on the execute button, and now it's going to need to connect to the server again. Okay, so once the test completes, you want to click on the Report tab, and then you can expand the IP address And then you can see all the different vulnerabilities that are available to be exploited. And you can continue to expand down and just take a look and find out what vulnerabilities exist. So I'm going to need you to take a screenshot of this and place this into the Word document. And then this will complete the Nessus project.